Hi everyone. Welcome back to A Sky Full of Stars, episode 34, and we've come to the first selection screen. So this happened because Hikari is demanding Akito to return the letter that she wrote to him many years ago. So A, should Akito tell her no and keep it, or B, just get back to Hikari? So, anyways, right now, Hikari, Orihime, and Saya are watching this old man give advice to Akito about that mirror that he's trying to sand and polish. And in short, it's about ready to be installed or to be built into the telescope. And surprising, given that this old man is the guy that just lurks around at the Sao Tome convenience store with his magazines. So Miharu told Akito that this guy used to work at a glass company before it got closed in favor of the dam. So anyways, let's see what happens next. So I'm not really sure how to approach this, and this actually decides whether or not I'll be on the first divergence route, which leads to the Hikari or Saya route, or the second divergence route, which will lead to the Orihime or Corona route. Okay, so I'm actually going to try to show the differences between the two options. So the common route actually goes for a little bit down the road before we split off into the two divergence routes. Okay, so let's see what happens if Akito says no to Hikari and keeps the letter. So he tells Hikari, nope, no way. Why not? Because I said no. I shrugged. Wow, you're unfair. Wait. Fine then, so I'm going to show all those messages that you wrote to me as Komako. Okay, so... But I always knew it was a move that she could make, so I stood firm. Well, I'm not afraid because I'm pretty sure that was one way Hikari could get back at me. And I wonder what he wrote to Hikari as Komako that is going to be quite embarrassing when Hikari shows it to Saya. Well, go ahead. Hey, then why are you the one who's panicking? Well, you're a meanie. Oh, come on, knock it off. Okay, so if you won't get back to me, then promise that you'll not open it up. Well, I don't know about that. Well, I think it's better if you just said, okay, well, I won't open it up, and try to get Hikari off his back. So something about that anguish in Hikari's expression made me lose the will to tease her anymore. Okay, fine, so I will not read it. How about that? So, promise? Never mind. Well, I had no idea what was written in the letter, but to make Hikari this worried, it must be something important. And she didn't want me to read it, no matter what. So what had changed? What did she want me to know 4 years ago that she didn't want me to know now. And the whole thing was starting to burn me out. Well, I don't really like that word.
片付け終わったよって何してるの?
Nothing really. I was just talking to Hikari. But before I even finished speaking, Saya's face fell. So what happened?
そうなんだ。またこっそり二人だけで話してたんだ。
So I wonder if Saya still remembers that recent visit to the secret base. So Hikari and Akito were looking up at the sky, the two of them, while Saya was sleeping. And then when Saya found out about it, she got jealous and she pushed herself in.
私だけのけ者なんだ。違うよ。これはそういうんじゃなくて。
Well, it has nothing to do with you, and it's okay if you did not participate.
どう違うの？だってこんなの私だけ。
Uh-oh. Saya's gonna cry. Saya's multicolored eyes fill with tears.
のけ者だもん。
So am I not a fit?
違うの、さや。泣かないで。のけ者にしたんじゃないの。そうじゃなくて。
Come on, it wasn't done intentionally, and we didn't want to leave you out purposely, so don't worry, it's all fine. That's right. It was just some dumb conversation, that's all.
私もバカ話したい。
But having dumb conversations means that we're close together and we can talk casually, so...
しよう。いっぱいしよう。
Well, don't worry. You missed this one, but there are other ones we can have.
なんだったらこの後アキトをのけ者にして。
Well, how about we have a girls' talk and throw Akito out? How about that? Well, I'm pretty sure Saya wants to have private talking time with Akito as well. Hey, Hikari! Well, I guess that works.
よし。じゃあどこかでケーキ食べて帰ろう。
Okay, so how about we talk on the way home?
私も仲間に入れていただいてよろしいかしら。
I wonder. Orihime said, raising a hesitant hand.
どうぞどうぞ。天文女子同士女子会しましょう。
Okay, so how about a Pleiades girl talk?
そうと決まったら早速行こう。天文女子会いいですわね。
That sounds nice. Well, I've been left completely out of the loop on this one. Sure, well, have at it. It's not that I really care about it. Well, either way, I have to go to work. Okay. Well, anyways, at the very least, mirror grinding for the primary mirror was going well. Okay, so there's been some time ever since we started on that Dobsonian telescope. So I wonder how far they are with the mirror, or are they done with it? And I wonder how much time they have left before Hikari moves away from the country with her father. Well, and the way things were coming along, we decided to hold another meeting.
そっち支えててもらっていいですか?
And once again, they choose to hold the meeting at Akito's, I'll say his apartment, club room, whatever. Okay, got it.
そこ持っちゃダメです。もっと根元を。
Oh, I'm sorry. So today's meeting was out on the school grounds, but then again, still at Akito's school, the Hoshino Daichi. So our club room was just a little too cramped. Okay. So Keisuke, the other Morimisawa Astronomy Club member, and I were all working to put together the Dobsonian telescope.
こんな風になるんだ。
Ooh!
でっかい。
So I wonder how big this telescope is.
大きいですわね。
We mounted the body on the already complete stand. And the primary mirror and some of the other delicate parts still weren't ready, so it was as much as we could do for today. And each school had taken care of a different part, so we had to try and put everything together to make sure the measurements are all lined up. Okay, that's good. It's like, well, make sure it all fits together, because it'd be a waste if the parts, well, they're built well, but they don't fit. Like maybe the screw holes are not lined up, or maybe this came out larger than it's supposed to be, and
やっぱ燃えるね。自作の望遠鏡。
kind of like how Narure is really happy about this, compared to before when she was all upset. And even that very first Six Stars Club meeting, people were kind of uncomfortable. They were already feeling that this is not going to work out.
はい。
Okay, so everyone from like the whole club for Nishi High was here. And I forgot how many members they have. Maybe 2? Oh, so there's 4 members. And with that many members, they were actually the largest group in the Six Stars Club. 7 member, like Meiko, that's the school that Orihime goes to. They have 3 members. Well, actually 2 because Orihime is going to graduate soon. But for Akito's school, he's the only one. The other one already graduated. And for Ama High, there's 2. So Noriko and Hikari. And for Seisen, well, there are some other members, but they're not really astronomy club members. So just one, Saya.
人の手の温かみが感じられていいですね。
So Keisuke looked more like he was built to play rugby, but he was the head of the Morimisawa Tech Club, and they had all their members present today too. Okay, so he brought people from another club to help them out. And despite not being astronomy, maybe they can use their tech expertise to help build this telescope. Okay, that makes sense. So all 3 of them were just as big as Keisuke, which made for quite the sight. I was so used to being in a club full of girls, so I was kind of glad that there were so many guys present.
おや？はよいずまちゃんたちが何かやってるぞ。
And once again, some unwanted comments.
なんだろうあれ。
So all the students that were heading home after school or headed to their club activities were starting to take an interest in, I'll say, our group. And there we were, a group made of 7 different school uniforms, gathered around some giant contraption. We were bound to draw attention.
ねえねえ、はよいずまちゃん、これ何してるの？
So why are you here? What's going on? And I wonder, it's like, well, this commuter wipe has been shown up more frequently than before, so something is happening.
天体望遠鏡を組み立ててるんです。え、このなんかの寄せ集めみたいなのが天体望遠鏡なの？
So I'm pretty sure it's just like some kind of equipment, but once they put more of the parts together, it'll start to look like a telescope. Well, I could tell she was about to call it a mismatch of trash. So each one of the schools had used their own scrap materials to make each of the parts. Okay, it's like, well, the parts that are being used to make the telescope, they don't look shiny, pristine, and it can be misinterpreted as like trash. And as if that wasn't enough, all the parts were different colors, making it look even more like a bunch of junk. I'm pretty sure they might paint it once it gets put together, so it won't look like trash by then.
そういや、かよいずまちゃんの彼氏ってうちの天文部なんだっけ？いえ、彼氏じゃ。
Oh wait, he's not my boyfriend. Then why do you serve him oden on a regular basis then? So the ears of the Six Stars Club members all perked up upon hearing these girls talk about Saya's boyfriend.
あのお二人、やっぱりそういう関係だったんですね。
Okay. So Noriko's all excited.
まあ、だろうね。私は分かってたよ、最初から。
Well, I could feel that.
というか、何ですか？かよい妻って。
Well, I'm pretty sure it's best not to learn about that term. It's a pretty derogatory term for Saya.
じゃあね、かよい妻ちゃん。
Okay, so just leave.
またね。はい、さようなら。
Goodbye. So after she was done staring at her feet for a moment, Saya looked up to find everyone else's eyes on her. So now I kind of wonder. So one, you're the commuter wife, and two, you have a boyfriend.
なんでしょう。
So what's wrong? Why are you all looking at me?
別に。
Nothing.
かよい妻。
So are you the commuter wife?
ねえねえ、さやにかよい妻させてんの？
And now Hikari wants to know what's going on. Hey, I didn't make her like that. I think. I was quick to deny it, but after thinking for a moment, it probably was my fault that she earned that nickname. But then again, Saya voluntarily wanted to give Akito food for the night. It's like, well, you're eating unhealthy, you're buying cheap instant noodles, and that's high sodium, not much nutrition, so I want to give you something more hearty to help you out. And Saya did it many times, but the point is that she did it on her own will, and was really concerned about Akito's well-being, so. Well, anyways, let's just focus on finishing this thing, so come on, get out of this. I figured it would be best to get back to work before I said something I would regret. Okay, so here's what the half-finished Dobsonian telescope looks like, and in short, it's not really that bad. You can see all the different parts coming together, and it looks far from being just scrap material.
教頭は骨組みだけなんだ。
郊外へ出て観測するなら邪魔な光が入ってくることもありませんからね。
Okay. So when you think of a telescope, you probably imagine something like a pipe, but that's not always the case. Okay, so the Dobsonian we were putting together lacked a lens tube and used only a frame with primary and secondary mirrors. So these cylindrical tubes on telescope were made to prevent any extra light from coming in from the sides, which would negatively impact image quality, but also create airflow within the body, which had an impact on image quality as well. So Dobsonian telescopes are dependent on location, but if you use them in a dark area, you don't have to worry about the light. And by omitting the barrel, you don't have to worry about airflow, and it'll be lighter.
ここに主鏡をはめ込むのね。
Oh, okay. So you try to picture what the complete telescope would be like while looking at our frame. It was a bit clunky and definitely looked handmade, like a telescope made of junk. But like I said, it looks far from being junk. Well, anyways, most of the curious people who came to see what we were working on probably couldn't even tell it was a telescope at all. So pretty much everyone thinks of a telescope being like a tube with lenses on both sides. And even for reflecting telescopes, they have an open hole on top and a mirror on the other side. But it was almost so shoddy looking that it was actually cool. So we probably couldn't expect a whole lot in the way of image quality. Well, then again, I'm pretty sure image quality was not one of the things they expected, because it would take a lot more cost and time to make a telescope that can focus images better. And at that point, it's probably more cost effective to follow Orihime's original plan of getting this really expensive telescope commercially made. But I was sure that at that point, everyone was thinking just one thing. So what will the stars, what will the skies above look like through our telescope? And we worked so hard to polish and build it, so the stars we saw through it were sure to be special. And everyone was probably letting their minds run wild. Even someone like me, the astronomer who never looked at stars, was excited.
寸法が合わない部分がありますね。詳細は僕らでやりましょうか。
Oh well, there's always going to be problems along the way, so.
そうしていただけるとスムーズで良いかと。
So they're trying to find ways to compensate for the differences in measurements.
あ、そうだ。写真。
Okay, pictures. And then, as if on command, one of the younger Nishi High students pulled out a camera from their bag. Oh, come on, let's take a picture of this to commemorate our whole team working together to build this telescope. So,
ドブソニアンだけだと大きさが想像しづらいから誰か横に立ってみて。姫さんがいいかな。
and the Orihime.
これでよろしくね。いいね。
I wonder if they just wanted pictures of Orihime. And they used the group photo as an excuse for that.
そうそう。ブログのアクセスが最近伸びてるんですよ。ジンナさんの写真のおかげでしょうか。
Oh, so thanks to our blog and all those pictures, it looks like there's been more interest from other people who are not astronomy. And I wonder if it is possible to bring back the old times when there were so many people doing astronomy. And, well, anyways.
ブログに載ってる写真、すごく綺麗に撮れてますよね。
And plus, the photos were in good quality, so attractive. And they point out all the really cool aspects of being in astronomy, so. So we also have to thank Noriko for updating it so regularly. So Noriko was a bit of a beginner, but again, didn't really have much to offer in building the telescope. So she focused on updating the blog. Okay. So the posts were brief, easy to read, and really captured the surprise and excitement that only a real beginner could offer. So Noriko and Hikari's school, Amahai, was right on the southern border of Hoshinaka and was the closest school to the city. And it wasn't the best location for watching the stars. Amahai's astronomy club focused more on reading books and using computers. Well, I guess this is where they get to experience the real thing as opposed to looking at pictures, images, and reading large data or large journals about it. And I guess I explained why they weren't so good at the technical sort of stuff. Well, the good thing is that if you have someone, or if you write the blogs using simple language, it makes it easy for people to read, and that kind of makes it easy to get people all hooked on astronomy. As opposed to someone who's experienced, they probably might have a tendency to resort to all those complicated terminology and text and all those details. So with Nare's photo in the mix, people just started to take an interest in our activities. Or it could also be because the first thing uploaded was a picture of the lovely Orihime polishing a lens with a serious look on her face. There you go. It's like maybe they're trying to use Orihime to attract more viewers. Well, either way, more views was good news. So even our mistakes had turned out well in the end.
この前はブログのコメント欄のおかげで助かりました。
So someone had looked over our plans and left a comment with some advice for us. So what's the comments? Or like what's the advice? They would even answer questions we had and helped us avoid making a few mistakes. And there were even people from other astronomy clubs who dropped in to show their support, which really helped us all keep motivated.
最初は日に20アクセスもあればいいところでしたが、今では1日平均100件を超えてます。
Okay. So back at the start, those 20 hits were mostly just our members. So when you take that into account, we've come a long way. And Orihime's face lit up at Honoka's comment.
世界中が私たちに注目している。
And I'm pretty sure Orihime's real dream of restoring the once really popular astronomy clubs, or the world of astronomy, is getting closer than she ever dreamed of.
うつら星の会の存在をあまねく世界へ知らしめましょう。
Well, how about we go further and let the whole world know about it?
世界、姫ちゃんたちすごい。そうね。
Really? So everyone except for Kurona seemed less than excited. But this wasn't the first time they all had this conversation. So what's wrong? So every time Honoka mentioned it, the whole scenario would repeat itself.
試供の研磨作業はどの程度進んでいますか?
So they're trying to dodge the questions that come. Well, I think it's good that we're making a bigger presence around the net and in the community, but I don't think it would go that far as to allow the whole world to notice them. But anyways, Honoka changes the topic, like, okay, so how's the polishing coming on? Honoka was looking over the construction charts on her tables. So we finished cutting it, and now we're working on the surface. And once that's done, it just needs a bit of, pitch polishing, and then we'll be set for a Foucault test. So the Foucault test is to determine if the surface is paraboloidal. Basically, the curvature is correct, it's balanced, And the shape of the, I want to say lens, but it's a mirror. Like it has the right curvature so that the light reflects correctly from space to the secondary mirrors and such. So it allows you to see shadows of the small dips and bumps on the secondary flat mirror, which you can then smooth out using into a finished product. So we borrowed the equipment we needed for the test, and Keisuke also got some help in making the last wooden box piece. Okay, so now that's all done, we might need, we just need Champ, well, the instructor, to take a look and approve it for us. Then we can send, we can send it to get coded. So playing was the only part we couldn't do ourselves, obviously, so we had to ask the pros instead. Well, I'm pretty sure it's because they use chemicals, and I'm pretty sure it's not safe to have any of them touch those chemicals. Might be the silver, and maybe some copper for the backing, and the silver has to be coated smooth so that there's no bubbles and there's no ridges, because any of those defects, that's going to ruin the performance of the mirror. And that was the last step needed to complete the telescope. So I wonder how much money it's going to cost to have the mirrors coated with that silver, that backing, and maybe some protective layers. So Orihime nodded to Honoka's prompt. Okay, so now that our telescope is getting close to completion, now we should think about the next steps. Okay, so when are we going to do this first light test? When are we going to try out this telescope? And where? Okay, so what's our target? What do we want to look at? So everyone started thinking long and hard after hearing Narue's words. And when the Dobsonian telescope is finished, what will we want to see first? So what do we want to see? And more importantly, what would we be able to see? So, okay, so what's our limitations? How far can this telescope look into space? And using that, what can we see? So we should probably start with something easy, right? So, what would be easy to look at? Okay. So what's Hikari's idea? So what's your mind? What do you have in mind? Okay, so that's when we should test it. But the question is, what do they want to see in space? Oh, so you want to see Santa Claus? So basically, Hikari's like, well, we don't need to have a target, but we could just set up the telescope at the right time, at the right place, and have many people watch and kind of look at the sky on Christmas Eve. So everyone just sort of stared at Hikari, it's like, Well, I do feel that if they don't have a target at what start to look at, it might not make it exciting for anyone else outside the Six Stars Club. It's like, well, what are we looking at? If it's just the starry sky on Christmas Eve in general, that's boring and we're just gonna go home.
それですわ。
And I'm sure people would prefer to open up presents around that time. But it looks like Orihime is happy with that choice. Like, perfect! So Orihime grabbed her hand and started shaking it over and over.
それこそ私が考えていたうつら星の会。
Well, that's great. So we can attract all these people to look at the stars with us.
より多くの人に関心を持ってもらおうっていうのが会の目的ですもんね。
And it follows Orihime's original plan, like get many people to be involved in astronomy.
そういった名目なら人を集めやすいと思います。次の日から冬休みだしね。
So I pulled out my phone to see what the skies would be like on the 24th of December. And the moon would set sometime in the afternoon, so the skies would be perfect that night.
クリスマスイブの星空。ロマンチックでいいですね。そこで星の解説などをやれば関心を持つ人が増えるかもしれませんね。
じゃあいっそクリスマスツリー星団でも見てみるかい？
Oh, okay. So it looks like Nari has an idea. It's like, so we can look at the Christmas tree cluster. And I'm pretty sure that refers to some constellation.
何それ見たい。そんなのあるの？それにこの子もいます。
Okay? So Sai panicked when suddenly being singled out.
じゃなくて。
So Hikari raised her arm a little bit to point past Saya.
ドブソニア？
So what about the telescope?
ええ。だってほら。
So Hikari gestured at all the people that had gathered around us. I hadn't noticed, but we were basically surrounded. And everyone seemed to be taking an interest in what the big thing in front of us is. And they had no idea it was a telescope, but just that sheer size and look of it drew them in. But then it gets like, well, it does look more than just junk because it's put together. There's actually assemblies in it. It's bolted. You can see panels. It's not like a pile of trash. Well, I guess our Dobsonian telescope is the only billboard we really need.
当日は集まってくれた人たちにも見てもらえばいいんじゃないかな。みんな驚くだろうね。自分たちで作った望遠鏡で星を見たことなんてないだろうから。
And things like, well, what makes it really special is that we built this by hand. It's not a commercially available product. So when they look at, or when we can see stars with this telescope, it really shows how much effort we put into building this machine.
いかがでしょう、会長。満天の星に彩られた聖なる夜。採用ですわ。
Okay, so let's do it then.
場所は前にほうき星さんに教えてもらったあそこでしょうか。
So what was that place?
だとすると、あの吹きさらしの山の斜面でどうやって寒さをしのぐかですね。
Okay, so it's probably the place that Hikari, Akito, and Saya used to go to a lot as little kids. But because it's on a hill, there may be wind issues. So we have to not only worry about ourselves, but also about the general public that has no experience stargazing out on a cold winter night. So how about we set up tents?
アウトドア方面はアキトにお任せだね。
Hey, I'm not sure we have enough though, and rentals would cost money. Okay, so I was like, well, I only have enough tents for maybe just myself and maybe a few other people, but if we're gonna have tents for a huge crowd, I can't do that. Well, there are only so many we could set up as well. It's like, well, space is limited. And I thought it over a bit more before speaking up. So, we have a place that would work. So what other place? It took Saya a moment to realize what she was, part of we. But when she did, she immediately nodded her head in agreement. So are you fine with that, Hikari?
あるでしょ。星を見るのにちょうどいい場所が。
So I wonder what this perfect place is. So there's a place I want to show you all. So you guys have a moment. Everyone nodded hesitantly in agreement, still unconvinced. So what's this place that only Akito, Hikari, and Saya know about? So after we finished taking down the Dobsonian telescope, I let the entire Six Stars Club to an old familiar place. It was a little far, but everyone stuck along to see where we would be setting up this event. Still, though, we had to cross the dam, climb up the mountain, and make our way through a dark forest. So people were definitely spooked. It's like, what's this place? It doesn't seem right. But that was only until we got to that place. The sky was painted brilliant orange as we made it up the mountain. And here we are. Oh, okay, so it's their secret base, aka the abandoned rail car.
駅だけど人がいない。無人駅だからってわけじゃないよね。
So everyone was both a little surprised and impressed as they looked over the crumbling station and the train that stood still in front of it. So it used to be an unmanned station, but that's not why no one is here.
ずっと前にこの先の線路が流されて、それ以来使われてないんです。
So everyone wanted, watch in silence as Hikari, Saya, and I, headed up onto the platform. And the three of us looked back at them from up top. So this place is...
私たちの秘密の天文台。
So our secret observatory. And this is where the Mikazuki Astronomy Club was based. So what does Orihime think about this base? So the rest of them stayed a little ways away, staring at the abandoned train car. It's like, wow, so a rare treasure in the middle of the forest.
廃墟だけど、車両があるせいか、なんだかまだ生きているみたいですね。
あの観測ノートはここで書かれたのね。
Okay, it's like, so is this where you wrote all those observations in the journal? Yeah, that's it.
こんな場所だったんだ。アキ兄たちの秘密基地。
Okay. So Kurona said in somewhat lonely tone. She had always wanted to come out here with us. But it was dangerous enough during the day, never mind in the dark of the night. So I was sure her mom would have a fit if we took her with us. So pretty much, Kurona's mom refused or will not allow Kurona to go to this place, no matter what time of the day it is. And eventually, we just kind of stopped spending time with her. Oh, that's sad. Well, come on then. So, let's get on up here. So Orihime grabbed my hand timidly as I reached down to help her up. And once she made her way to the platform, the others began to follow. Okay, so you're welcome inside too. So is he going to show what the rail car is going to look like from the inside? It's kind of messy if I last recall. Really? Well, then again, it kind of looks clean for its age, but you can see that there's all this trash or stuff in there. And this is a good place to stay if you don't need tents. So you can have lots of people here. They can use this as shelter, and I'll say like, well, you don't really need that many tents, and you won't have to worry about renting tents, which can cost a lot of money. There you go. Well, after we clean up a bit, all we need are just blankets, and we could stay plenty warm through the night in here. And we get to see the opposite part of the sky from over here too. And between here and there, we pretty much had a full view of the night sky. So what do you think, Orihime? So we get to experience the times of what it was like when Hikari, Akito, and Saya were little kids trying to do astronomy. Is it okay? Orihime said with a small frown. So what do you mean? But then again, I feel like I'm kind of ruining like your little world. And doesn't that magic get ruined when you invite so many people to come to this place? The three of us glanced quickly at each other. Well, I mean, it's probably fine. Yeah, no big deal. Okay, so you have it. Well, it's not like we ever wanted this to be just our place. And we just never had anyone else to take out here with us. Okay. So it looks like everyone agrees with it. But what about Corona? I think it just reminds her of all those not so good memories. But then again, that's past, so I should look forward. So Hikari patted her on the head, messing up her hair. So Hikari readied her hand for a karate chop. Okay, it's like, well, I'm being nice to you. I'm welcoming you to our club, and you shouldn't call me Picarin in return. And with that, the whole lot of us came together and made preparations for our first light test. Okay, so we're back in the past, and this is where Akito was living with his grandfather. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and I'm pretty sure this only plays if I selected the first option in that selection screen at the beginning of this episode. So I'm going to go back and see what happens if I pick the other option. So hold on for a minute. Okay, so I'm back at the selection screen in the beginning, and let's see what happens if I pick the second option. So give Hikari back that letter. So part of me didn't want to give it back to her, but I still had read the letter, but whatever was inside must have been important, something Hikari really wanted to tell me 4 years ago. Oh, okay. And letting it go would be like losing whatever feelings she had for me back then.
コマコさんのログ、さやに見せるよ。
And once again, Hikari threatens to show the Komako messages to Saya. Well, that's something I wanted to avoid at all cost. Okay, fine. You can have it then. So I step back into my room.
どうしたの、アキトくん。
And it looks like Saya steps in the way of Akito. And I wonder what's going to happen next. Oh, I just forgot something. After digging through my stuff next to Saya and Orihime, I finally pulled out that book. And I opened to a page in, wow, look, A Beginner's Guide to Astronomy. And if you remember, that book was actually handed down by Teacher Miharu. And what's inside was the letter. Hikari held out her hand for it. Hey, not so fast. So, if I give this letter back to you, you must promise to delete all those messages. So now Akito has the upper hand at this. It felt like a hostage negotiation scene from a movie. So Hikari took out her phone and deleted the entire log of messages between me and Komako.
はい、消したよ。
Okay, so I deleted it. I did my part, so your turn. Hey, don't look so disappointed.
別に不満じゃないわよ。ただ、ちょっと寂しいだけで。
So maybe Hikari feels lonely on her side for deleting all those messages.
楽しい思い出もあったのに。
Well, I'm sure they're not really considered fun for Akito. Sure, memories of me embarrassing myself. Okay, so here you go. I hand her the letter.
本当に読んでないんだ。
So the blank sticker holding the envelope closed was still as intact, the same as it had been 4 years ago. Well, maybe we should look at... So maybe we should read it now, together?
いらない。
No thanks, pass. So Hikari shoved the letter into her pocket before I had a chance to change my mind.
片付け終わりましたわよ。
And it looks like Orihime stepped out instead. It's like, okay, we're done with the cleaning. Orihime opened the door and peeked through.
何を話し込んでますの？
So what's going on? Nothing?
手洗ってきます。
So Hikari rushed off towards the sink.
どうかなさったの？なんだか少し寂しそう。
So what's wrong? Wait, me? No way, nothing.
ならいいんだけど。
So Orihime can sense that there's something not right with Akito. Don't worry about me, Orihime. Besides, aren't you getting tired of coming over to help out every day? Well, you don't have to push yourself too hard.
無理なんてしてませんわ。私も残したいの。自分がここにいた証を。何せ私がここにいられるのもあと数ヶ月だから。
Oh, okay. So it's like, well, I know I'm working really hard, but don't worry because I'm going to leave astronomy or like the astronomy clubs after a few months, and that's when Orihime graduates from Mako Academy. Okay, so that's right. Hikari wouldn't be the only one leaving the Six Stars Club. Orihime will be graduating in March, and then she'll be gone too.
だからダメと言われても手伝うわ。
So I like to help out as much as I can in these last few months. So Orihime gave a mischievous smile full of resolve. And if all went well with the Dobsonian telescope, it'll probably be used for years to come. And no wonder she's pouring her blood and sweat into the primary mirror. It's the heart of the whole project. Well, sorry, I shouldn't have said anything.
私楽しいんですの。こうして大勢の仲間たちと活動することができて。
Well, it is good to have you on board.
はい。
So Orihime may have been 2 years older than me, but the innocent way she smiled always made her feel like a sweet little girl. Anyways, at the very least, mirror grinding for the primary is going well. Okay, so this is where the other option will take us. So overall, it is quite interesting to hear that Orihime will also leave the Six Stars Club because she'll be graduating from Mako Academy in March. But for now, it looks like progress is going well on the telescope, and I wonder how much time they have left before Christmas Eve comes. And I wonder how this first flight event is going to fare, and will it draw many people to come and watch the stars with them. But at least I see that there isn't really much opposition to these astronomy clubs, in contrast to what happened in If I Heart Wings with Tobiyuki Sensei. So he's the club advisor for the Robotics Club, and he's against the Soaring Club for some unknown reason, and he mentioned that it's because the Robotics Club, it contributes to the school with awards, recognition, and that's in contrast to the Soaring Club where it's more like a personal hobby or such. And I feel that he doesn't really understand what it means to have a club. Well, if you want to watch that, you can go ahead and look at my Let's Play videos for If I Heart Wings. And finally, as for how I will proceed with this visual novel, I'll first play a scene with Akito in his childhood life with his grandfather at his place, and that scene only happens if I chose the first option, which is not to give the letter back to Hikari. And then once I'm done with that scene, I'll show you the other scene that happens if Akito does give the letter back to Hikari. And it will be different than the one that you're about to see. But anyways, with that in mind, I will see you later.